wars, but as I said, I have to give you a trick for wars, and then we will go on into our story with regards to consolidation. We will do judiciary, we will do ICS. Thereafter, I will today introduce to you the concept of land revenue. We will also discuss what is called subsidiary alliance and doctrine of lapse. And these are the basic, most important discussions we have today. With regards to the police, or policing in the Indian subcontinent, I will push an article by me about what we call policing in the Indian subcontinent. It has all the basic details and basic understanding with regards to what we call as policing, how did it evolve, and the basic ideas. And that would be a PDF which I will get it uploaded in the portal either today or tomorrow for sure. So simplest to simplest point is a lot of interesting topics we have to discuss today. And as I said, judiciary, ICS, land revenue, subsidiary lines, and doctrine of lapse is important. Over and above that, my own article for policing in the Indian subcontinent, which is basically covering all the aspects related to how does it evolve, the Daroga experiment, the concept of the commissioner, everything will be pushed. Policing reforms and everything, Abhishek, we have covered under that. I have covered under that. So don't worry about that. From Fraser Commission to the Police Commission under Curzon, everything is covered under that. The basic points related to everything is there. So this I will push here. And when we'll discuss what is called communications, one article on railways is again something which I've researched on, and we'll understand that. But the basic point of the matter is now finally, we are out of the period of what we call as expansion. And if you remember, what have we done till this point? We've discussed a very important progression with regards to how the British were expanding in India from first what we call as the concept of advent of Europeans and the Mughal decline. Thereafter, we went a step further. And when we went a step further, we understood the concept of the way regional powers developed. And then we see that how the British expand vis-a-vis the regional powers, So the simple point of the matter is that we are understanding the gradual progression of the Europeans from the Mughal decline, from the concept of Mughal decline to the concept of what we call as advent of Europeans, to the concept of thereafter what we call as the regional powers, and then finally we had then with expansion. So from today onwards, our orientation will totally shift. Third Battle of Panipat is nothing but a battle between Ahmad Shah Abdali and the Marathas. Marathas were obligated under a 1752 agreement to help the Mughals, which was under Balaji Bajirao the first. So simple point is, we have now created the context in which the British rise. Now much awaited in this, Raj means British Raj. Raj means rule. So there is what is called Company Raj, the Crown Raj, or British Raj. Raj means, Raj is a Hindi word itself. Raj means to rule. A standard word which is used at this point of time. Now, before I do anything, can we discuss the trick which we were talking about for what to do with wars if they come in chronological order? Can we do that? Yes. So first point is very simply, we discussed yesterday first, second, third, first, second, third, fourth, first, second, third. We discussed all the wars, and I gave you, if you remember, what did we do? Popa, Madman Siri. Ipopa was Alexchapelle, Pondicherry, Paris, Carnatic. Madman Siri, Madras, Bangalore, and Seringapatanam, which is Mysore. And we did Balsal, which is, we had Salbal, which is the concept of basin, the Salbai, Salbas, which is Marathas. So this is Alexchapelle, Pondicherry, Paris, Madras, Mangalore, Siri, and Seringapatnam, which is, then you have the Treaty of Salbai and the Treaty of Basin, and we did Lahore, Bhairoval, and basically by the time the Second Carnatic War happened, they had already taken over. So we have discussed acronyms with regards to treaties. Is there a problem with regards to this? We tried to do everything in a very systematic way, and we created a certain picture in your mind. Now let us go into the trick. See, if you remember, these are all the wars we've done. First Carnatic, Second Carnatic, Third, Battle of Buxar, Mysore, thereafter Maratha, thereafter again Sikh. Now, one thing is, do these dates matter to me or to you? Or is there anybody who can right now say, I will ratify the dates and I'm going to answer the questions via that? Either we don't have the time or we don't have the basic effort I don't want to put in, and it is literally impossible to remember it. So we'll remove this aspect itself. But what we'll do is that we'll rather learn a trick in which how we can just undercut and bypass this whole concept. And how you do it, see, very simply, Carnatic is C, 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 first, second, third in sequence. Then you have Plassey and Buxar. This is the only one which is out. This is 1757 and this is 1764. So I'm looking at the first dates here. I'm looking at all the first dates here, and basically on basis of that, I am creating a sequence. So C, 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 BP, where PB. This is not an issue. Now, the only anomaly in this story is this, which is Mysore, Maratha, and thereafter Mar, and then Sikh. The dates really don't matter. What really matters is, see, all wars are in sequence. First Mysore and first Maratha is the only one which is not in sync. After that, Mysore, Maratha, Sikh, Carnatic, Mysore, Maratha. The only thing which you need to know is that the first Mysore war and the first Maratha war happened together, which is one after the other. Other than that, all the battles are in sequence. If I ask you to put first and second and third, am I not telling you the sequence already? First battle, second battle, third battle. I'm technically telling you the sequence automatically, which is first Carnatic War, second Carnatic War, third Carnatic War. If I ask you to put first and third and fourth, or first, second and third in chronological order, you can put that. You can put that, right? I'm already saying first, second, third. So the problem is not there. The point is, how do you put them vis-a-vis each other? How do you put them vis-a-vis each other? My point is, all wars are in sequence if you just understand one thing. Carnatic happens first, then Bengal happens, then Mysore happens, then Maratha, and then Sikh. Basic point of the story here is very simply CBMYMAS. For me, the only anomaly is this. Because what happens is that the first Mysore war happens, first Maratha war happens, and then again Mysore happens. So, if I ask you, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm giving you four options. For example, I say first Carnatic War Then I say Second Mysore War, and I say First Sikh War, and I say First Maratha War. Now, what would be the sequence of all of these three chronologically? You tell me. You tell me. I'm giving you time. Just figure it out. Use the basic concept CBMYMAS, and you will automatically come to the concept, which is all of you already answering. I want everybody to write it. One will be there. Carnatic happens first. Then we are looking for either Bengal or for Mysore. If there's no Mysore, then there's Maratha. So 4. Then we'll go to Mysore, and then we'll go to Sikh. Did you need any date in understanding this? You tell me. Did you need even one date to put it in chronology? You tell me. So then why obsess with numbers? And I can guarantee to you, you learn the years, you will get confused here. You will get confused here. The basic point of the matter is, let's do another one. Can we do another one? I told you I'll give you a trick. Can we do another one? We can? Great. Okay. Now let's do another set. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. Now I'll make it a little bit harder. Third Carnatic War, Battle of Buxar. Battle of Buxar. Thereafter, First Mysore War, Second Mysore War, Third Maratha War, First Maratha War. Come on. Come on, come on. Let's do it. If in the process of giving you the options, you will already start to answer. You try to put them in chronological order. You try to put them in chronological order. Now this, if you understand the trick, it is one of the easiest of all. What I'm looking for is, I'm doing it in front of you. I'm looking for CB, my, mar, C or S. So C is there. So 1 will be the first one. Then we know Battle of Buxar will go. Very good. Now I have to look for Mysore. But Mysore Maratha, First Mysore is also there. First Maratha is also there. So it will be 3, 6. And thereafter 2, 5. 4, 5. 4, 5. Now I can make the whole list, and you have the capability of actually putting it in the chronological order. Now tell me, does this actually be much better, or is this smarter than what you are going to do? The basic point is Carnatic, and the simplest is this anomaly. If you remember that first is Mysore and then is Maratha, first is Mysore and then is Maratha, then you know that first. So what is the sequence? See, you look it like this also. I'll again give you a question, don't worry. 1, 2, 3 Carnatic, Bengal, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. See, if you want to complicate it, that's a separate issue altogether. But you see, it is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 1, 2. I'll see, this is all Carnatic, this is all Bengal, this is Mysore, this is Maratha. Then it is Mysore, Maratha and Sikh. Satyajit, I'll do it again with you. Don't worry. I'll do it again with you. If you are obsessed with numbers, this is the way. But I'll again give you an example. I'll give you another example. Let's do it. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I will give you 7 different wars, and let's put them in chronological sequence. You take your time. You take your time. Okay. Second Sikh War, Battle of Plassey. Third Mysore War. Second Maratha War. First Carnatic War. You have fourth Mysore War and third Maratha War. Now, come on. Take your time. Take your time. I want everybody to write it down. I'm giving you time to do it. I'm giving you time to do it. I'll put a timer with no question. I'm giving you, there's no question here. Just, I'm giving you 30 seconds. Figure it out. There's no answer. We'll do it after. I'll tell you after the 30 seconds. Come on. Everybody has to do it in 30 seconds. Not more than that. Nothing here. Nothing here. The timer is in front of you. Come on. Very good. Great. Great. And you all were scared of this area. And now you are literally telling me the sequence itself. So most of you are writing 5, 2, 3, 6, 4, 7, 1. 5, 2, 3, 6, 4, 7, 1. Let's check if this is the answer. First, I have to look for one war which is C. I find one C. Okay, it starts with 5. Thereafter, Plassey. Very good. 5, 2. Now, Mysore, Maratha, Sikh, Mysore, Maratha. So, but Mysore happens first. Very good. 3. Then it has to be 6 because 3rd Mysore, 4th Mysore. Then Maratha in sequence. 4, 7, and 1. Now, did the past 7 hours make sense? And can you do any question now with regards to sequence? So it was worth the wait. This is how we do history. We don't blindly go and learn these dates, because that will literally lead to your death, because nobody can actually learn so many dates. I'm just using the first dates and I found an anomaly, and that anomaly gives me the power to do any type of question. Just remember the basic sequence: Carnatic, Bengal, Mysore, Maratha, Sikh, and the basic point is first, and thereafter all are in sequence. Done? Perfect. Can we now move on to what we have to discuss for today? Policies of the Raj. UPSC will never ask you dates. UPSC never asks dates. It will always ask you to put it in chronological sequence. Now, please tell me, is the fear of wars over with the basic point, how will I learn the dates? How will I learn the dates? That is over? Perfect. Perfect. Simple. Again repeating. And what we'll do is, we'll do another question in the end of the class. And let's see, do you remember the trick in the end also? Can we do that? I'll take one question in the end, and after doing everything, do you still remember the basic concept? See, Carnatic, Bengal, Mysore, Maratha, Sikh. Anomaly: first Maratha, first Mysore, first Maratha. Mysore first, then Maratha. And the beauty of this acronym, you have to only learn the chronology. UPSC, they has not said you learn the dates. If they give you, they will say, consider the following wars. Put them in chronological sequence. Will UPSC say, tell me the dates also? No, I have to put it in chronological sequence, whatever the way I found it. Now, the beauty of this story is that when you write this sequence also, Carnatic, Bengal, and you write Mysore, Maratha, and Sikh, you also get to know one more thing, which is Mysore Maratha is given in right sequence, which is 1-1. So if you remember this basic point, you will also realize that this is 1-1, then after that 2-3-4. Get it? Perfect, 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 perfect. Okay. Now, everybody concentrate in class. Can we now finally get over our fear of wars and now concentrate on what we need to do for today? Great. I hope this gives you a lot of confidence that you can now conquer the worst of the sections in that sense. Okay, now, because nowhere does this type of actual sequence will be there. Shalom, I've already discussed it again. I will do it again in the end. Okay. 3 times I've also discussed. Okay. Now, see, the British expanded in India in different ways. And the first type of expansion we've already understood. Basically, the British, once they came to India and they started to expand, there were 2 ways in which they expanded. One is very simply called direct conquest. Direct conquest, which is very simply what we saw in Carnatic, what we saw in Bengal, what we saw in Mysore, what we saw in Maratha, and what we saw in Sikhs. However, there was also one more way in which the British expanded India, which is called indirect conquest. And ironically, only 50% of all conquests happened directly. 50 to 40% of all conquest thereafter was indirect conquest. Now tell me one thing, why would the British prefer indirect conquest? You tell me. Why would the British prefer indirect conquest? Why do they like the indirect conquest concept? Great. So we now are thinking like a Britisher, which is, why spend the money? All of this will need a lot of money. It's an expensive means. Money, power, people, everything will be used. Why not just be the termite and eat up the state from within? Now, in order to understand indirect conquest, I need to just give you a very simple sequence of men. In the last class, when we'll do module number 21, I will give you the list of governor generals, I'll give you the list of viceroys, constitutional history as it is, I will do with you. But for the purpose of this discussion, we need to know a sequence of men who were technically first Clive being the governor of Bengal and thereafter the governor general of Bengal and then governor general of India. But that nomenclature I will discuss with you when I'll do constitutional history, maybe tomorrow or on Monday. But the basic point is that, rather on Friday or on Monday, is that you need to know for this purpose, a basic sequence. Robert Clive, Warren Hastings, then comes Cornwallis, Lord Cornwallis, then comes a person called Wellesley, then comes Bentinck, and the last is for us right now, Dalhousie. These men are basically the men who ruled India. Robert Clive was the governor of Bengal, the looter, literal looter, murderer, and the thief called Robert Clive. No other word for him. Literal thief. Then Warren Hastings, Cornwallis, and Wellesley are technically what are called governor generals of Bengal. And in between, their status will change to Governor General of India, which I will discuss with you. That is through Charter Acts. That's a separate issue altogether. Bentinck, a very important personality who is known for the abolition of sati. and Dalhousie, after which a whole hill station is named. All of these are the British officers who are in the backstory. When I was discussing all these wars with you, these are the men who are involved in the story. Now you will ask me, sir, how do I remember their names? Is this an irrelevant question? The relevant question is, how do I remember their names? There is no goodness in Britishers. Who is good? No one. They are different levels of evil. We will discuss that. The only good one is Ripon, and we'll discuss that later. You can do two things. First, you make something like this, CHCWBD. But technically, it doesn't give you any context. Rather, you listen to a story to me. The story is that Clive and Hastings had a Cornwallis at the Wellesley club where they wanted to take Bentinck to Dalhousie. Now this is called acronym making, but in the way of making a story that Clive and Hastings had a con in the Wellesley club, and when they were there, they said that let's do one thing, let's take Bentinck to Dalhousie. Now, basic point is you can make it shorter. Clive and Hastings had a Cornwallis at Wellesley where they took Bentinck to Dalhousie. The basic point is I'm again showing you a trick, which is making acronyms which have the names. This is much easier to remember. The weirder it is, the funnier it is, the vulgar it is, you will remember more. You will actually remember more. I leave it to your imagination to put these men in sequence in a story. But these are the men who are involved in our basic story for today, which is Clive, Hastings, Cornwallis, Wellesley, Bentinck, Dalhousie. I will keep on expanding this. As I said, I will give you a whole list of governor generals and a whole list of viceroys, and even there, what they did in it, that will be given to you. That is not an issue. But as of right now, can you for me just remember that there are two men who wanted to have corn, bhutta, at a club called Wellesley, and then take a person called Bentinck to Dalhousie? Yes, they are technically governors of Bengal. They are governors, they are the administrators of the British. They are governor generals. But the concept I don't want to introduce with you, because I will do when I will talk about Regulating Act and thereafter Pitch India Act and all. So you trust me with the aspect of telling you constitutional history. Can we remember this sequence for today? Come on. Can we remember this sequence? Yes, we can. Great. Perfect. Okay. Yes, we can. Now finally, as I said to you, there are two ways in which they conquered India. One is direct conquest, but the indirect conquest was done via something called Subsidiary alliance, introduced by a person called Wellesley, and the extension of the Subsidiary alliance, the brother of Subsidiary alliance, is called the Doctrine of Lapse, which is Dalhousie. Remember it like this: DD Dalhousie Doctrine. Right? Okay. Now, Wellesley, Lord Wellesley, don't say Wellesley question mark. I just told you Wellesley is a governor general and is an officer of the British. Dalhousie is a governor general, and you said to me you will remember their name. This is Dalhousie, this is Wellesley. Can I trust you with this? Come on. That when I say these names, they make sense to you. right? Okay. Now, come with me to 18th century India. Come with me to 18th century India. And we land in a certain part of India where there are multiple rulers. There are multiple rulers. There's this guy A. There's this ruler called B, C, D, and E. Very standard in India. These are basically 5 different rulers. And what is common to them is I'm teaching you subsidiary lines. Listen to me. What is common to them? They have what are called boundary disputes. Boundary disputes. And there is what we call as constant warfare between the states. For example, A is fighting with E, A is fighting with B, A is fighting with D, A is fighting with C. Basically, A is fighting with B, C, D, and E for territory. For territory, that is called a boundary dispute. For territory. The setting is clear? The setting is clear. Yes? Come on. The setting is clear? Very good. Now A was watching TV. Imagine A was watching TV and an ad comes on the TV. And the ad says, "Are you troubled by boundary disputes?" A says, "Yes, I am." "Do you find your army inadequate?" He says, "Yes, I do." So here is the solution. The solution is a new service which the British are providing, which is called subsidiary alliance. Basically, subsidiary alliance was an service like Urban Club does for you, like your electrician and your plumber does for you. It's a service which the English provide. They're a service provider. The first entrepreneurs of India, the British, they go to each and every state and say, "Are you troubled by boundary disputes?" "Yes, I am." "Do you find your army that it is not adequate?" "I think I don't." So the British army is at your service. The best army in the world, comes with a lot of perks, but you have to just consider and accept certain conditions. And now, once you accept these certain conditions, the British army is at your disposal to do what you want to do. It is literally an ad. It is literally an ad. Subsidiary alliance was literally an ad for the British to provide service to a state, So, subsidiary alliance is a policy, and it has a certain purpose for the British in India, and it has such dangerous conditions that these rulers, being very, very obsessed with their boundary disputes, will not realize what they're actually agreeing to. But the basic point of the matter is that they are obsessed with their boundary disputes and have very, very bad armies. If we understand the setting, then I would like to tell you what is the subsidiary alliance. Because we discussed subsidiary alliance with regards to Bajirao II. Can we discuss what are the basic concept of a subsidiary alliance? Great. Now, for example, A calls the number and says that, "Yes, I want subsidiary alliance." So what is going to happen? Now, this is the ruler A. This is ruler A. A chooses to enter a subsidiary alliance with the English. Now, the following things are going to happen. Amisha, I'm repeating, I'm not explained it till once, understand it. There are boundary disputes, multiple powers, and British were ready to provide a service through their policy called Subsidiary Alliance. And now the following is going to happen. Now finally A has chosen that he will go for Subsidiary Alliance with the English. Now the following things are going to happen. First, A will disband his own army. I'm telling you what is Subsidiary Alliance. Listen to me. A will disband his own army, which is that he will dissolve his own army. He will dissolve his own army. First mistake. Second, now the British will appoint a resident and place a regiment of soldiers in A's territory. Basically, the English will now technically station their men in A's territory. Basically, stationing of men. A resident is nothing but the British officer who coordinates with the king. This policy introduced by Wellesley. Now, the condition for the second is the king only has to maintain the army for his use via his own money. And you can technically say it's not assimilation, it's just disbanding. A will disband his own army, and under this new service, under the new policy, under Subsidiary Alliance, the British will station their men in the territory of A, and a resident will now coordinate with the king. What do you want? And the only condition, the first condition is that the king has to maintain the army. Maintain means he has to feed the army, he has to clothe the army, and he has to give them shelter. Basically, literally maintain the army. Salaries and everything also, you write salaries also, very good. Salaries, feed and clothing and shelter, everything paid by the king. But in return for this, all other European powers, these are the conditions, all other European powers should be removed from A's territory. British will control the foreign policy, but the most dangerous clause of all, ammunition, water, food, salary, shelter, where they want to go, excursion, picnic, everything king. The basic point is you have to maintain the army. A resident is the person who is technically coordinating with the army and the king. Resident, British resident. But the most dangerous, and all of these men are English. The most dangerous clause of all was, if you are not able to pay for the army, we will, which is the British will annex your territory as penalty. as penalty. Now listen to me, how this is technically proper slow poison or proper poison. There are three things which has happened. Firstly, A disbands the army. So A does not have his own army now. Second, he now has to maintain a whole army of Englishmen in India, and this army is available to the king. This army will be available for battle, but you need to maintain it. But in return to this, all European powers should be removed. British will control foreign policy. Who do we fight with? But the biggest is, for example, you default 1 year, they will take this much of your territory. Then you default another year, they will take this much of your territory. Literally, they will take territory for penalty of not maintaining. Now, there are two major implications, and you tell me, would you ever take this deal? You tell me, would you ever take this deal? Never? Never? I'll give you a modern example of it and it should be totally clear. But Baji Rao II agreed to this, and close to 11 to 12 states in India agreed to this. The advantage to the British is twofold. Firstly, they are eating up the territory as form of penalty. But can you tell me the biggest and the most important implication of subsidiary alliance? You tell me, which is the biggest and the most important concept of subsidiary alliance? 6 is important. Territorial penalty is important. But yes, Akshay, great, perfect. Which is, Britain can maintain an army at no cost. Because technically, maintaining the army is the costly affair. Simply, now what is going to happen is everybody is going to go into a subsidiary alliance. There are 5,000 British men here. There are 10,000 British men here. There are 3,000 British men here. There are 4,000 British men here. And there are 10,000 British men here. But the irony of this story is, tell me, do the British pay for any of these men if all of them go into subsidiary alliance? No. So the basic point was, the British was able to maintain an army for zero. And the story, if you actually understand it, we the Indians literally paid for our own colonization. We paid for our own colonization. This is the implication. Who gave the capability to the British to maintain an army 5 times more than what they could afford? Who gave them this power? Who gave them power? The regional kingdoms. The Indian subcontinent was so disunited that we were so blind to things. We were not ready to understand what is actually happening. Just for 2 kilometers of land, these people were selling off India and literally paying for their own invasion, paying for their own conquest. So, you disband your army, you are defenseless. You have to maintain the army. It's a very costly affair. Guns, ammunition cost very, very much. The British literally controlled foreign policy. And I'll tell you what, the British were so smart that what is going to happen is that if everybody is going to go into subsidiary alliance, the British will not let them fight only. Because then the British is fighting the British. So they will say, all is good, peace in the world. Why do you want to fight? Your territory is perfect. Why? What's the problem? So if everybody goes into subsidiary alliance, it is not good for the British. But the British, because they control foreign policy, will technically control who they fight with. They will mostly fight with a country which is with a area which is non-subsidiary alliance. Is this making sense? Are you understanding the gravity and implication of what is happening here? I'll give you a very simple example for this. I'll give you a very modern, simple example for this. For a very modern, simple example. Simple example. The concept is that you have a house. Listen to me. It's just an example to just put everything into paper. You own a house. However, you are competing with your neighbor for whose house looks more cleaner, better, and is more decorated. So you bring 4 men and their job is to maintain the house. Your salary is 10,000 rupees. And the combined salary of these men is 8,000 rupees. Now 1 month you will pay, but the 4 men say no issue. If you can't pay us in money, what you do is you give us a part of your house and we will call it our own, and simply we will not take money from you. If you want to maintain us, if you are not able to pay our salary, we'll take a part of your house. So basically 1 month you will be able to pay, 2nd month you will be able to pay, 1 month for sure you will default because there's a very small gap between the concept, and one day will come when these 4 men will actually own the house and you will be out of your own house. This is literally the subsidiary alliance. If you understand this basic concept, imagine your own housekeeper, house servant, you don't pay him or her, and one day they become the owner of the house bit by bit. This is called dangerous politics and myopic vision. Literal myopic vision. So, do you understand the subsidiary alliance now? Basically, the 6th clause is the most dangerous, but I would like to write the implications of the subsidiary alliance. Okay. So, what are the implications of subsidiary alliance? Is everybody following? A lot of you are thinking, or you are angry with the rulers. Well, you can't do anything, they did it. The basic point of the matter is that this is the level of dumbness we actually did. We were so engrossed in our own small squabbles that we literally sold India. And this is why I say that the British did not do anything. They just sat there and we gave them India bit by bit. Bit by bit we gave them India. Now, implications of subsidiary alliance. First, and the most important, British can maintain an army which is not paid by the East India Company. Therefore, the number of contingents and regiments increased exponentially as local rulers were maintaining these regiments. Paramount power concept, I'll come to that. That's a word that British are the best. Paramount power, paramount power. That is the basic point. That British, I will only accept the British, no one else. Now, second, they will indirectly or directly control internal and external politics as they control the foreign policy. The foreign policy. One regiment is a number of men. One regiment. The Assam Rifles, something like that. Third, the subsidiary alliance was used as a tool of annexation as the rulers slowly bankrupted themselves and the areas were annexed under the penalty clause. Basically, the British can have big army and annex without fighting. Do you now understand the importance of subsidiary alliance? Disband their own army means that they will not have their own army. Yeah, you can write that. Have no defense of their own as army disbanded. Simil, that's a separate issue altogether. There were other clauses also, but that is technically under Doctrine of Lapse. That's an extension of this. You can call the Chinese debt imperialism and US debt imperialism the same way. China has literally, that is called debt imperialism. This is much different. Simple point is, if these things are making sense, I'll read it out of the PPT. China, Pakistan nowadays, that's the basic point. The basic point is regiment contingent means you go, when you watch the 26th January parade, the soldiers which are going in front of you, they're going in one contingent or regiment. One regiment could have 100, 200, 300 soldiers. We'll discuss that. ADBC will discuss that, separate issue altogether. A very similar strategy is being used nowadays, but we'll discuss that separately. Simple point is we paid for our own annexation. We paid for our own colonization, and that is the major implication here. Now, can we read it out of the PPT and close subsidiary lines, because there's something more to this story which is called Doctrine of Lapse. Lack of unity, divide and rule worked perfectly in India always. Okay. Lord Wellesley, the Governor General between 1798-1805, built an empire in India based on this alliance. Under this alliance, the British made the ruler accept the British forces in his territory and agreed to pay for their maintenance. So the Indian ruler now goes into an understanding, army has been stationed. The ruler will now accept a resident in his court. Basically, a Britisher will sit in his court and dictate things. The Indian ruler would not enter into any further alliance with any other partner or any other country or any other European power without the permission of the British. So they are now controlling internal politics. Now, that is, Sachin, the beauty of the story, that though they are a company, they have an army. That is the astonishing part. The ruler would not employ any European or any other European power in their area. And if there is anybody, they will be dismissed. They will be dismissed. They call themselves lords because of their, they take respect in calling themselves as lords of India. Now, in case of conflict with other state, he would agree to the resolution decided upon by the British. So now they're controlling foreign policy. The ruler would acknowledge the East India Company as the paramount power in India. Paramount power means dominant power in India. That they are the Karta Dharta, they are the real power of India in that sense. In return of the ruler accepting its condition, the company undertook to protect the state from external and internal disorders. And the basic point is the most dangerous thing you have only employed. If the Indian ruler failed to make the payment required under the alliance, then a part of their territory would be taken away as penalty. And this is the most important of all. This is the most important of all. Now, subsidiary alliance was taken by a lot of different states. Starts with Hyderabad, then Mysore, then Chanjore, then Awadh, then Peshwas, then Bhosles, then Sindhia, then Jodhpur, Jaipur, Bharatpur, in this exact order. Now, do you need to learn the sequence and do you need to learn the names? See, sequence you can learn via very simply the acronym if you want to make it, but you don't have to. It used to be a very old question in which they used to ask you to put them in chronological sequence. But just remember one thing. Remember the first state at least. The first state at least, which is Hyderabad. That Hyderabad was the first to go into the understanding. And this is the moment in which Bajirao II sold the Marathas. And if you look at all these states, are these states very weak? No. This is the beauty of the subsidiary alliance. That even big states were put under subsidiary alliance or were under subsidiary alliance and did not even understand. See, when it comes to Mysore, the issue is altogether different. Once Mysore is totally defeated, they are put under subsidiary alliance. Peshwa, Bhosle, Sindhia, same thing. My basic concern of the story is these states are not standard states. Mysore is against the British, but once they win the fourth Anglo-Maratha war, Mysore war, they put it. These are not, some of them are not voluntary. My basic concern here is these states, with whatever logic they went into, there was a whole set of rulers who did accept it. And the most biggest of them in this is Hyderabad. And that is why Hyderabad was always under the control of the British. Now, can I talk about doctrine of lapse? Nobody is realizing anything because they are not understanding the implications of what they're doing. See, I'll tell you one thing. When you get the first salary or you get your salary in your first week, you think you can buy anything and everything. These rulers were very, 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 very egotistic. They thought we can maintain a small army of Britishers, but they didn't understand what was the cost of it. They are not looking at long-term concept. This is called myopic concept. Very short-term understanding of things. So the basic point is this is okay. Now, but what if myopic means short-sightedness, myopic, hypermetropic. Now, what if a state is able to maintain subsidiary alliance for a very long time? Now, Dalhousie had an answer for this question, which is that we have states which we have conquered directly. We have states which we have conquered via subsidiary alliance. But there are states which are under subsidiary alliance, but they're not getting conquered because the state is able to maintain. For example, the Hyderabad state for a very long time was able to maintain a lot of revenue. So they needed a master stroke. And that master stroke is called Doctrine of Lapse. And basically, yes, Aman, even before when the Scindia-Holkar controversy starts. Basically, Doctrine of Lapse is a very simple concept. See, in India, there's something called what is called hereditary kingship. Hereditary kingship is what? There's father, there is son. So the next king is going to be the son. His son is going to be the next king. Then his son is going to be the next king. This is called hereditary kingship. Father, son, chain goes on. But in India, there was a very simple concept that if you do not have natural born son, which is that your queen is not able to produce a son. So what used to happen was in pre-British period, they simply adopted a son. So if you do not have biological son, then you adopt a son. Now see, you are giving me probabilities. They have so many queens, how no son? They have 50 plus children, how no son? Now that is this is how genetics works. That is not my problem. The basic point is they are not able to produce a son. That is their problem. I'm not responsible for it. You are not responsible for it. No one cares. Yes, they have multiple queens. They have multiple, not able to. Genetics does not work. It is always the man's genes which matter. XY, XX, that is not the point. The basic point of the matter is, does it really matter that they had so many queens and so many sons and daughters and they did not able to? Doesn't matter. They were not able to produce a biological son. So now the adopted son was accepted as the king. However, now the British said, and now you listen to their line. I read somewhere in Hindu scriptures, in the Vedas and the Upanishads, it is written that only the natural born son should be the biological son should be the king. The logic which they gave was actually based on Indian customs. Though there is no Indian custom, our rulers had no idea what was written in Vedas, Upanishads and Dharma Shastras and Manu and this and that. But the British said, no, my officer who read the Vedas and the Upanishads said, adopted son not acceptable. So under Doctrine of Lapse, the British will annex a territory, be it under subsidiary alliance or under British protection, if ruler does not have natural biological son. Now basically the British made a certain formula to annex India. Can I discuss the four formulas of how the British annexed India. Are you understanding the concept? Don't have a natural born son, we will annex your territory. That is doctrine of lapse. Lapse, the doctrine of lapse of kingship if you don't have a natural born son. So now basically the British had the following means of doing what they did. There are 4 formulas which the British applied, and basically they were able to conquer India via this formula. You see, first formula is direct conquest. But the problem for this direct conquest is it's expensive, it's time taking, and it drains a lot of resources. Now, the second formula they found was that you go into subsidiary alliance, then bankrupt the king, and then annex the territory. Annex the territory. So either way they are getting conquest, but the process is a little bit different. Now, what if this doesn't work? Then subsidiary alliance, ruler is able to maintain. So then master stroke. Use doctrine of lapse and then annex. And then annex. Basically, doctrine of lapse can be applied with subsidiary alliance or without subsidiary alliance, which is a territory is under British domination or protection, but not under subsidiary alliance. There again, they could apply doctrine of lapse and annex. Basically, be it either way, they will annex. So the British used this following formula. Either go for direct conquest, taken. Either go into subsidiary alliance, bankrupt them, annex the territory. Subsidiary alliance working, okay. Apply doctrine of lapse, take it. And if the person is not under subsidiary alliance, you start to dominate via what we call as military power, then apply doctrine of lapse and then get annexed. So for example, the Carnatic state went into British influence, but doctrine of lapse was applied. The basic point of the matter is our rulers did not understand what was happening. Why are the rulers applying or letting them apply? You tell me one thing. See, the rarest of rarest is this one. This is the rare one. This is the rare one. Mostly 1, 2, 3, 1. You tell me that, okay, I will not let you apply doctrine of lapse. What will you do now? What will you do? You don't have your own army only. Yes, the ruler realized that basically I am being cheated. Okay. But what will you do? You don't have your own army only. See, either way the British are going to annex you. Fourth is, for example, British does not put an area under subsidiary alliance, but starts to dominate via military power. And military power is used to dominate that state, but they don't want to go into the whole formal subsidiary alliance concept. Rather, they dominate and later they use doctrine of lapse to remove the king itself. Protectorate state. Protectorate state. What is the concept? Protectorate. That we protect you, we protect you, we protect you. Gone. See, UPSC is not asking you formulas. And you don't need to know you don't actually know. The basic point is you don't need to even understand the examples. Direct conquest we've done for the past 2 classes. Subsidiary alliance, bankrupting states and annexing them, I showed you, which is that the Bhosles, the Peshwas, the Sindhyas literally were bankrupted and their area was annexed. But there's also one basic point which will be discussed in 1857. For example, Jhansi. It went into subsidiary alliance, was able to maintain, but then they went into doctrine of lapse. So you want me to write an example? We write an example here. Example, the Mysore state. Subsidiary alliance, they lead to the annexation. For example, Peshwas. Subsidiary alliance leads to doctrine of lapse. For example, Jhansi. And the Carnatic state becomes an example of this. Carnatic never went formally into a subsidiary alliance, but doctrine of lapse was still applied to them. Simple point is, once the British control internal external politics, they will apply doctrine of lapse for sure. And see, policy issued by Dalhousie, he's technically not the originator. It was a good idea which came from the court of directors itself. It was an idea which came from England. And coincidentally, when he became the Governor General, a lot of these issues came with regards to who is going to be the next king. And very simply, the doctrine stated that adopted son could be the heir of the father's personal property, but not the state. The paramount power would decide what to do with the area, annex it or give it to the adopted son. The basic point is, there was no clear-cut instance of any adopted son getting anything or not getting anything. And in that context, the doctrine of lapse was applied to the following states to technically go into what we call as proper annexation. Now, understand one thing. For example, Jaipur never went into subsidiary alliance. It was dominated by the British. Doctrine of lapse was applied. You don't have to, Jhansi is here, don't have to complicate it. But I hope that you understand the way the British are using this strategy to conquer India. Either way you will get conquered. Either you go into subsidiary alliance or you come under British protection or domination. They will find a way to annex you at a cheap cost. It is cheap, effective annexation. Is this clear? Priyadanshi, clear? Everyone? So you understand the concept of subsidiary alliance, and you understand the concept of subsidiary alliance, which is certain conditions which are accepted by the state, which in turn leads to the 6th clause coming through. If you're not able to pay, we will take your territory. This means that the British can maintain a big army, can directly, indirectly control internal politics, and if the subsidiary alliance works, it can go for annexation and have no defense against, or the kings have no defense against the British. If somehow subsidiary alliance does not work, the next important concept was the British introduced doctrine of lapse, which is that we will not let an adopted son come to power. And if that also does not work, they were able to either way use adopted son concept itself. And simple point is, doctrine of lapse could be applied with or without subsidiary alliance, because once you come under British protection and you don't have a formal subsidiary alliance also, they can do this. Is this clear? The previous year questions don't even have the question related to subsidiary alliance, which is that they not ask these states. I will discuss previous year with you on Friday once we've done with at least modules which out of which there have been previous year questions. Simple. I want everybody's consent that you understand subsidiary alliance and you understand doctrine of lapse. The way it worked, you technically don't have to bother about that too much, but basically 4 ways of annexation. 4 ways of annexation. If ruler has son, does not accept subsidiary alliance, then okay. Then subsidiary alliance is not accepted. Then you remain independent. The British will go for direct conquest. Subsidiary alliance under Wellesley, doctrine of lapse under Dalhousie. Implications of subsidiary alliance: big contingent can be there in India, not paid for by the British. The British can control internal and external politics, can annex without even fighting. That is the basic point. Devansh, are we all on the same page here now? Subsidiary alliance, and doctrine of lapse. So basically, we understand how the British, what is called, expanded in India. So finally, we have done expansion. We have done expansion. So the British came to India. They came to India, and now they have finally expanded in India, and they have certain ways of doing that, be it direct conquest or indirect conquest. Indirect conquest. I'll just revise everything with you what we've done till this point. Don't have to do that, Vishwajit. Can we just consolidate everything? Because now I'm going into consolidation of the Raj from expansion of the Raj. We're now transitioning to the policies through which they will consolidate India. Great. So, what have we done since the beginning of, or the day you met me? We have been trying to understand why was India so easy for the British to conquer. What went wrong? We are doing a diagnostic research here. We are using an antivirus to understand why did this virus actually spread. And we are able to understand certain issues. First is that the Mughals were declining, so no central authority. Then we were able to diagnose that, okay, the problem is that the Europeans were given concessions and the British were the most aggressive to take concessions. And these rulers again had very myopic vision to understand what the British are going to do. Then, once all of this made sense to the British, the central power called Mughal India got disintegrated into regional dynasties. And now these became very easy target for the British. The British will go for direct conquest in Carnatic because of the French connection, in the Bengal sector because of conspiracy Jagat Seth and Nomichan, in Mysore sector because of the French connection of Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan, in Maratha because of Raghunath Rao and Bajirao II, and then Sikh because of the way they wanted to consolidate India. But that was not the only way. There was one more method, and the other method was cheaper, easier, and much, much more common. Go for subsidiary alliance, which is let the ruler choose his own death by going into an understanding. You have a lucrative concept that you can have 1 lakh men in India, but still you pay for 10,000 of them. And once the subsidiary alliance clauses come through, penalty after penalty area is annexed. If that did not work, then the master stroke, the insurance was doctrine of lapse, which is that somehow they will not produce a naturally biological son, and basically nobody controls that. And we will use this pretext to annex India. With this, we understand two things. India was disunited. Our rulers were more or less too myopic, too short-sighted to understand what was actually happening. We paid for our ore colonization. We literally gave the British everything in a platter. And now internal politics was something which was actually the problem. The British always got an inroad because of internal politics. So now the British has finally expanded. Can we now talk about the tools of consolidation, how they consolidate the empire, and then we'll talk about how they looted the Raj, which is what we call as the concept of land revenue settlements. Annexation means to conquer. Are we all on the same page? Now do you understand the logic of this course? Everything is connected to each other and everything has a certain set scene. What I'm telling you is basically a story called the British domination of India. And I have now finally created the scene in which India is more or less under the British. Can we now consolidate? Consolidate means is to what we call as control and now fully make it right and perfect. No lapse in under subsidiary alliance clause. Doctrine of lapse came after subsidiary alliance. So basically, there could be a concept where subsidiary alliance is applied, then doctrine of lapse is applied. But if you are not under subsidiary alliance, but you want protection from the British, a lot of cases were there, Jaipur and all, Rajput states mostly, then doctrine of lapse is directly applied. Okay. Now, timeline of states is in front of you. That is not an issue here. Okay. Tell me, why were the British here? Once we do judiciary, we'll take a break. Why were the British here? They were here for profit. The East India Company only wants one thing: profit, 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 and profit. For that, trade needs to happen properly. But there's a problem. The problem is, if law and order situation is not good, then what happens to trade? What happens to trade? If law and order is really bad, trade is going to get affected. It's going to collapse, whatever. Basically, law and order and trade are directly proportional to each other. The better the law and order situation, the better the trade. So the first place where they actually started to play with India is the judicial sector, or the judiciary. Is the judiciary. Now, very simply, before the British, before 1765, why 1765 important? How come a private army, how does a private company have its own army? Why not? Why not? Buxar. The grant of Diwani happens in 1765. So basically, I am talking about the period when the British have now become the rulers of, or the predominant personalities in Bengal. So before 1765, if there was any civil matter, or there was any what we call as criminal matter or case, there was certain way in which it was resolved. What is the difference between criminal and civil? So civil is family dispute, land dispute, where nobody is dead. It's technically civil matter. Criminal matter is when you do something to others which is related to the harming of the men and women. Basically, criminal offense is when you do something or the action is against a person, physical body. Civil matters are marriage, divorce, these land. These are called civil matters. There's no criminality here. Now, civil matter, for example, there's a land dispute. There's a marriage dispute. What used to happen was that the local zamindar or landowner or landlord, whatever you want to call it, he used to do it in himself. That, okay, land dispute, I am the zamindar, I am the landlord, I say that you give him land. Basically, it was resolved at the local level itself. It was resolved at the local level itself. There is no specific officer for this. The Mughals don't care about this. People resolved it within themselves. It's a regional, local issue itself. Now, if there was a criminal point, the Faujdari Adalat, as it was called, Adalat as it is called, in which a Mughal officer called Faujdar, used to actually preside over it, and they used to resolve issues via this court. But the problem is that there is no There is no certainty. See, what makes law effective and important and in a way work well is the concept of certainty. I know that I will go and kill you. I will get 7 years or 35 years in jail. It is certain that I am going to get something. This is called predictability and certainty. It is certain I will be giving you something. Basically, I will go and murder someone. I will go and cheat somebody. There's a specific amount of punishment I'm going to get, and that punishment I will get irrespective of anything. But these courts don't work like that. Faujdar was in a good mood. You murdered a person, tell him and go and murder his family member. Solution is tit for tat. He murdered you, he murdered your relative, you go and murder someone else. That person cut off your hand, you go and cut off his hand. The Faujdar is not in a good mood. He will give you lashes. He will ask you that we will take out your eyes. Basically, anything can happen. Everything is possible. Faujdar does not have certainty. The legal system does not have certainty. It could be anything. Does not matter. And basically, this is the system which the British inherit in 1765. Are you getting the basic picture of pre-British justice? It's all arbitrary. It's all based on the mood, the orientation, the place where you are, what it is. It's just uncertain and not predictable. It's not predictable. Uncertain and not predictable. Now 1765 to 1772, there's a thief called Robert Clive who now rules India, who now rules Bengal. The name of this chore, this thief, is Robert Clive. Literal thief, literally looted Bengal. And Robert Clive had a very simple policy. Don't take tension. If it works, let it work. This is called hands-off policy. I am here to collect taxes. My right is Diwani right. I will just go and collect taxes, and basically I don't want to take the tension of all this judiciary, this civil, this I don't want. I will get my money, I will loot Bengal, I will go back to London and have a very good life. So his understanding was hands-off policy. If it works, don't touch it. This man, Robert Clive, when he came to India to fight for the British, he was a literal beggar. Literal beggar. And by the time he goes back to England, he was called Lord Robert Clive. And basically, this beggar is going to say, I am not going to touch anything. I'm not going to touch anything. Now tell me, if you are going to follow this type of policy, law and order situation will become better or worse? It will become better or worse? It will technically, law and order started to go down. And now it started to affect the trade of the British. It started to affect the trade of British. British are taking tea from Bengal, from one province to other. Dacoits came, took the tea. A British officer was strolling in his house. Person came, stabbed him and got. Simple point is, law and order now became a problem. So Robert Clive didn't care. But it would not work. So finally in 1772, Warren Hastings is sent to India as the Governor General of India, first governor, then Governor General of not India but Bengal, and he has been given a mandate. That stabilize trade and improve law and order. Now Warren Hastings therefore now produces the first new judicial system in order to revive trade and law and order. And for the purpose of the examination, I will give you 3 flow charts, and that will be enough for any answer writing. So can I discuss with you Warren Hastings judicial system? We can. I give you a break after this only. We are in a train of thought. We will not take a break right now. We've discussed this and then we take a break. Straightforward. Now, Clive didn't care. Warren Hastings has the mandate to change the judicial system. But the problem with Warren Hastings is that he thinks that India, there is a purpose of Pandits and Maulvis and Qazis. Basically, Warren Hastings did not want to change a lot of things, but he believes that the Pandits in India are Hindu lawgivers or law officers, and the Qazi was already a law officer itself. But are Pandits law officers in Hinduism? No. But in the British mind, there had to be an equivalent to a Muslim officer. Qazi is a Muslim officer of law. But basically, Pandits are not that. But in his mind, Pandits are that. So now, please pay attention. This is what is called Warren Hastings system. Warren Hastings system. And the system is very simple. Very, very simple. He divides everything into criminal and civil. And he creates two adalats. The Nizamat Adalat and the Diwani Adalat. Where does the word Nizamat and Diwani come from? Basically from Bengali administration. Diwani is revenue and Nizamat is basically the concept of dual rule, which is the concept of what we call as general administration. So in the Nizamat Adalat, a European officer will preside over, will preside over one Pandit and one Maulvi or Qazi. And basically, if you go to this court, what you will see is that there will be a Pandit here, there will be a Maulvi here, and there will be the Lord or the judge sitting in the middle. Simple point is, if you are a Hindu, the Maulvi will not say anything. And if you are a Muslim, the Pandit will not say anything. Basically, the European officer takes decisions after consulting the Maulvi or the Pandit. But do you really think that Maulvis and Pandits are competent to do all these things? They're not competent today. How will they be competent in 18th century? So basically, this is how the British start to mess up the judiciary. And Hastings is creating a confusing system. In the Diwani Adalat, he now creates a position for which you are vouching for, which is called district collector. When you will become an IAS officer, you will get this tag, district collector. It is literally a British position. The name it says means collector, collect, district collector. You collect revenue, so district collector, DC. Now the same thing is going to happen here, which is that district collector will preside over the Maulvi or Qazi and Pandit. Basically, he's created a very identical system in which all decisions or all judgments, we should say, all judgments are reviewed by religious intermediary. But basically, they still don't have the competence. But what if you don't like the judgment of the Adalat? So in 1774, above the Nizam Adalat, a new court was established, which is the Supreme Court, 1724. The Supreme Court of Calcutta was going to take any decisions or any review petitions from the Nizam Adalat. And if you don't like the order, you go to the Supreme Court. And the same was true for what is called the Diwani Adalat, which is that you have one step further, which is Sadar Diwani Adalat. Sadar, this word Sadar means number of districts together. Now please don't bring in your modern notion of the Supreme Court here. It's called Supreme Court because it is literally the Supreme Court. It has no original exclusive jurisdiction. Don't get that. Simple point is, in modern Hastings system, I murdered a person. So which court should I go to? Yes, regulating access. Which court should I go to? I will obviously go to the Supreme Court first. I will go to the Nizam Adalat. Nizam Adalat, the judge says, tell me this system, tell me what happened. I said I am a Hindu. So the Maulvi will get up and give me room. He says, not my problem. Now the Pandit will say that with the European officer. I will say that I am not a person as this that I am sorry, I remove as guilt. Now the European officer thinks that he will say to the Pandit, what does your law say? The Pandit technically has no understanding what the law says because they are all in Hinduism. He'll say, I think if he feeds 1,000 Brahmins, his sins will be washed. So European officer says, perfect. This is your punishment. Now the person, my family, the person who got killed, will say, what is this drama? So we'll say, no, we don't accept this drama. We want to go to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court will again hear it. And now, same system will happen in the Supreme Court. And they will maybe modify anything. So basically, there is a two-tier system in which there is a Supreme Court and then there is a Diwani Adalat. Subsidiary Adalat, Supreme Court, same level, and Nizam Adalat and Diwani Adalat. Can you basically remember these two words? Supreme Court, Nizam Adalat, Subsidiary Adalat, Diwani Adalat. Basic point. If they come in the examination, make the basic structure. Right? Okay. Very good. But is this system actually any good or makes any sense? It makes literally no sense. And this will be realized by the successor of what we call as no suicide. Never. Who is what is called Lord Cornwallis. Cornwallis, first thing he will do, Cornwallis will remove all religious intermediaries, but he will make an even more elaborate system. He will make more elaborate system. He will straight away remove the religious intermediaries. He will straight away say, these religious intermediaries no sense, all these things are not on my mind. So what he will do is very simply, he will create the following structure. Again, don't want to go to the nitty-gritty of the structure, but just understand the basic points. Here, criminal and civil. And basically, he will now create 4-tier system. At the topmost, it is going to be Supreme Court. Under the Supreme Court, he now introduces what is called Sadar Nizamat Adalat. And under the Sadar Nizamat Adalat, he will then create what is called circuit courts. If you have ever been to the courts, you will know circuit courts still exist. Basically, 2-3 districts together is one circuit, 2-3 districts together is one Sadar. And then you have what we call the Supreme Court itself. Yes. So basically, Supreme Court is there, Sadar is there, then under that he will create what is called district courts. There is no intermediary in this whole story, but he is now made it a high court. I tell you, this Sadar is going to become high court. Simple point is he has created a whole system. Yes, technically high court today. The structure is created district, circuit, Sadar, Supreme Court. Any issue here? Very easy. Simple point is he has created 4 levels of appeal and justice. Easy. But in civil matters, he will be much more serious. Why will he be more serious for civil matters? Why is he more serious for civil matters? Because the company really cares about civil revenue, taxation. These are things they actually care about. Here he will create an event involving the king of England, which is that any dispute above 5,000 pounds, any dispute above 5,000 pounds, you will need to go to England. King in council. Basically, the king of England will take your decision. Anything which is at this level. See, districts make one circuit makes other. Basically, this is still today. 2-3 districts come together and make one circuit. 2-3 circuits make one southern. Standard concept. Which is this is administrative division of one state or one province. Circuit means 2-3 districts together. One circuit. You are circuit if you have kept inspectors, circuit officer. Basically 2-3 districts together. Now, if your dispute is less than 5,000 pounds, and 5,000 pounds is very quite a lot of money. That time today was also very lot of money. But 5,000 pounds, less than 5,000 pounds. Then it's the easy system. Sadar, Diwani, Adalat. Then in circuit courts. But at the district level, he shows his racism. That basically makes two. Registrar court and what is called the municipal court. This court only takes Indian disputes. This court is exclusive for Europeans. Now basically he has created a very elaborate system of power. See, understand this, multiple districts make one circuit, multiple circuits make one other. It's just coming together. In criminal, he's kept it from Supreme Court, circuit courts, district courts. In the other half of the story, he has now created a very important concept, which is if you are your dispute is very big, don't have to come here, go to England straight and talk to the king council, the European, the king of England. And if it is less than 5,000 pounds, you then go to municipal court if you are an Indian, you go to registrar court if you are a European. Then if you are not happy with this court, go to circuit court. If not happy with circuit court, go to southern court. Is this making sense? Southern is more or less equivalent to a province. Is equivalent to a province. Right? Are you getting my point? Why the British are creating such an elaborate system? Because this is how they consolidate India. They need to do this because they need to control India in the best way possible. So Hastings has too much faith in Indian officers. These religious Indians. Cornwallis comes and straight away throws them. I will give you a comparative picture. Don't worry. 3 officers will need to concentrate on. Hastings, Cornwallis, and I just need to do one small thing which is Benting, and I give you a break. What did Benting do? Can you discuss what Benting did? Very good. I'll write all of them together. Don't worry in that sense. Benting will just do one thing. He will say that why do we need a court? Why do we need a court at this circuit level? Benting will remove this court, and give power to district collector. Basically, till today, if you go today, for example, you have a land dispute, you will actually go to the municipal court. Now, registrar court does not exist. And if you are not happy with what the municipal court said, you go to the district collector. Till today. So, if this makes sense, can I make all of them and more than enough. More than enough. Are you understanding what we are doing here? You will not find this in any book, and when I read it out to you, you will automatically realize how difficult it actually is. Because it is, when you write these things down, you will actually make it even more confusing. So just work through it with me in this basic flow chart. It should be clear. It should be clear. So see. Let's discuss, and this is the revision we are doing. War and Hastings. Please don't get caught up in anything and the modern notions of judicial authority. There is nothing like that. Cornwallis and Bengal. Very simply, this is the most important slide. Please pay attention. Anybody who has lost track or lost your basic concentration, see. Criminal, civil. What is the concept? Supreme Court, Nizamat, Adalat. Sadar literally means basically province or state. Look at it at a high court level if you want to put it in that sense. Sadar, Diwani, Adalat, then Diwani, Adalat. And let's not complicate it, but here there is a union officer, there is a district collector. Both are presided religious intermediaries are involved. Anyone has an issue here or in Hastings? No? Perfect. Cornwallis just makes it very elaborate. First thing is removes religious intermediaries. And now he creates a whole system, whole network. Criminal, he keeps it very simple, very simple, which is we have a Supreme Court, then we have Sadar, Nizamat, Adalat, then circuit courts, and then district courts. If you are a lawyer, if you ever have, I hope you never have encountered the courts of India. This is which is still there. Imagine it today as district, circuit, high court, Supreme Court. Exactly same system. Exactly same system. Now, you are supposed to question again, I can't see it. Now, on the civil side, he has a little bit elaborate. King in council, anything more than 5,000 pounds. Under that system, anything less than 5,000 pounds, it is a Sadar, Diwani, Adalat. Prashant, is this ringing bell with you? Come on. I'm telling you your history. For any lawyer, come on. Circuit court, but at the district level, he divided it into registrar office. Yes, Shalu, yes. And the concept of Munsif court. Benedict will keep the criminal side exactly same. Well, Prashant, I'm glad your own history. And the civil side, he will have the same structure. King in council, Sadar, Diwani, Adalat. But he will make a very important change, which is here, he will change this to district collector. And then the same structure of registrar and Munsif. Done. Barbara will discuss that later. You will ask that question, makes no sense. Then it would be then which power, which more power, what is the status? Now, does it make sense? What difference it makes is because district collector is an officer. You don't need to hold a vote for it. Is everybody with me? Now, is it looking overwhelming or difficult? District collector is always European, never in India, never in India. Obviously, this will never give this position to India. Right? Now, I'll read it out to you and then we take a break. This is, and you will see, when I read this out to you, it will turn out to be even more difficult. So you just screenshot this, whatever you want to do it. This is technically close to 7 to 8 pages of Bipin Chandra and what we call as spectrum. If you want, if you're going to read it, and then they won't give you the right explanation. This is out of a very interesting article. I'm telling you, it's called Mark Granton. He's a very important legal historian. It's an academic level article, but I'm giving you that much level of understanding. You will not find it in CS books, you will not find it in UPSC books. This is something which I'm bringing from my own experience, which is the concept of law and in colonial India. And I used to read an article called Mark Granton, the legal system in India. And basically, I'm giving you this basic snapshot which no one else has at this point. Most of the people don't do judiciary because of this one. They don't understand judicial authority. So can we now just read it and close this topic? I promised you that from time to time I will keep on going up and down any level. And right now we are doing something which no one else actually knows well. Okay. Perfect. So first simple point. Judiciary. Okay. Judiciary. In 1765, the company takes over Bengal, Bihar, Orissa. The company takes over Bengal, Bihar, and Orissa. And thereafter, the what we call as Nawabi administration continued under Mughal practice, as we know, under the Nizam. And the judicial administration remained with a person called Raza Khan, who is the Naib Nazim under Clive. So Clive only takes Diwani authority, not Nazim, what is called the Nazim authority. Therefore, the company is happy to just hold on to civil jurisdiction and not hold to criminal jurisdiction. The features of this judiciary is local formulas had exclusive discretionary power and executive discretionary power. Sharia, which is the holy law of Islam, is applied through muftis and qadis. Focus on mutual resolution and punitive justice. Extremely lax and extremely correct. And the zamindars and the revenue farmers are usurping judicial authority. So it's all what is called a hotspot system. Now, the first system was introduced by one Hastings. Each district would have Diwani Adalat, Nizam Adalat. The topics of law were broadly divided into criminal and personal or civil. Hindu and Muslim law were to be used in criminal, and Muslim and Hindu law will be applied both in what we call as the Hindi Diwani Adalat and the Nizam Adalat. And they would be presided over by a European officer and a collector, assisted with a Maulvi and Brahmani. This is what I told you is Hastings system. The criminal court would be under a Qazi and a Mufti supervised by a European collector, but equivalent officer is going to be there also for the Hindus. The Sassa Nizam Adalat at Calcutta was the final appellate authority when it comes to civil matters, and this will be carried over by different members of the Europeans or the East India Company, and through the regulating act, the Supreme Court of Bengal is made. Now you tell me, is this easier or the way it's written in a sentence? Because in a written way, it will only make confuse you more. So just follow the flow chart. Exact same thing I told you. Exact same thing. Now, Cornwallis comes and introduces reforms. He says there should be separation of justice and revenue powers, brings more European subjects into the jurisdiction, and he does the following changes. He brings in the concept that law is sovereign, not people. Here, people were sovereign. Hastings himself was the real power. Now, law will rule and not people. King in council for any appeal above 5,000 and above. Subsidiary at Calcutta. 4 circuit courts for appeal. District courts for district judges. Registrar court for European judges. And Municipal court with Indian officers. Same thing I made here. Same thing I made here. Same Supreme Court, Sadar Circuit District, Civil, King in Council, Sadar Diwani Adalat, Circuit Court, Registrar Court, Municipal. Make sense? Everyone. Okay. Now, for Sari Adalat, which was initially there, will be abolished under Rakat. The names of office will also be totally destroyed. Circuit courts headed by European judges were created in place of the Fauzdari Adalat. The Sadar Nizamat Adalat was brought back at Calcutta under the control of the Governor General. Indians were fully excluded from the system. This is what I am telling you. Local intermediaries are gone. Indians excluded. Perfect. Now comes Bentinck. Bentinck will abolish all 4 circuit courts, transfer power to collector. Sadar Diwani Adalat and Sadar Nizamat Adalat are now set up at Allahabad. A new setup. The high courts are coming. English will now be spoken in the Supreme Court, not Persian. Lower courts can use either Persian or vernacular language. But he is the one who will appoint what is called the Law Commission. We will discuss the Law Commission under Macaulay will introduce CRPC, IPC, and the concept of Civil Procedural Code. It is Macaulay who is the father of law in India because he produced the IPC which we use till today. Till today we use the same IPC 1860. And just the last point is, by 1860, Europeans can claim no special privilege. And basic point is, Indians cannot try them, but European judges can. And in 1865, please note, the Supreme Court and the Sadar Adalats were merged into, at this point of time, 3 high courts. So the 3 high courts which exist in the oldest in India, Calcutta, Bombay, Madras, emerged in 1865. Does this make sense and can we take a break? It's been, I know, 2 hours straight, but I hope this makes sense. You just have to remember this slide and I will leave you on this slide itself. Can we all agree to this? This is basically a simplified version of whatever we have done. Whatever we have done till this point. Yes. So rather, it would make more sense to do this than to go for the descriptive understanding. Right? Do not try to make complicate it. Do not try to find logic in this. This is the structure. Great? Perfect. So it is 7.5. It is about the concept. Called the IAS, Indian Administrative Services. Ironically, the Indian Foreign Service was called Indian Political Service, IPS. Indian Police Service was totally different, IPOS, and ICS was Indian, now the IAS. Now, what was the need for the ICS? What was the need for an ICS officer? See, if you remember, between 1765 to 1772 and even till 1798, the British have Diwani rights. Yes. They have Diwani rights. The company has a charter. A company has a charter. Charter gives it monopoly. So does the British company have any competitor in India vis-a-vis a British other British company? No. It has a virtual monopoly. It has a virtual monopoly. But now, for example, 10,000 rupees worth of trade is going to happen. 10,000 rupees worth of trade is going to happen. But a British officer, for example, Clive, he also starts to trade and takes the dastak or gives the dastak to himself. Takes the East India Company dastak and gives it to himself. This would mean that Clive can trade separately under an extended power of the dastak. Clive can do what is called private trade. Now, if every East India Company officer is going to do private trade, the revenue of East India Company will go up or down? Will technically start to go down. Imagine, very simple. Imagine that today, the Indian Income Tax Department office collects tax from you, but the officer, the income tax officer, has the separate power to collect tax from you. Therefore, you are cutting down on the revenue of the main stream itself. So basically what was happening in this period was private trading was extremely detrimental to East India Company politics or East India Company profits. They were able to see that 10,000 rupees worth of trade is happening. Then why is that only 5,000 worth of trade is actually under East India Company name? The basic point is Robert Clive literally became a company in himself. He used to buy and he used to send, and his family used to receive it and sell it. Basically, private trading became a level of corruption or a marker of corruption in such a way that now everybody finds it difficult, and the court of directors are becoming more and more conscious of it. More and more conscious of the fact that it's technically personal trading. Literal personal trading. Looks like nahi, it is personal trading. And if it is personal trading, it will impact the East India Company. Now what to do? What to do? Hastings didn't care. Hastings did not have the capacity. He was happy to play judge with the Maulvis and the Pandits. It was Cornwallis who realized that this was a problem. So when Lord Cornwallis comes to India, he has been given a very important mandate. Try to find, the court of directors send him with a mandate that find a solution to this problem. That private trading of the officers is impacting our own interest. Our own interest. So now, very simply, he will introduce what is called the concept of ICS, which is he introduced the concept of officers who are employed by the East India Company but are not allowed additional income or private trading. Clive was doing it because he's corrupt. Obviously, he's the epitome of corruption. That is what he did. And basically, Clive didn't care. Hastings did not have the capacity. So what Cornwallis did was, he said, we will increase their salary so that they don't need to do private trade, but we will totally bar them from any form of private trading, So basically, Cornwallis was the first to bring into existence an organized civil services, because he tried to check corruption via increasing the salary, enforcement of the rules of private trading, and barring the civil servants from taking presents and bribes. And now this is another problem. Robert Clive personally took 50 lakh rupees as a gift from Mir Jafar. What should I do? I didn't want the money. He gave me as gift only. So they said no gift and no presents. Nothing can be accepted by an ICS officer. You don't need to make it a point to take bribes in the form of gifts. And via proper promotion system, seniority, and a structure, Warren Hastings was able to, Lord Cornwallis was able to figure out this whole system. But there's still a problem. How do we train the officers? Because they need to be trained in coming to India and basically knowing Indian languages. So when Wellesley came, he started what is called the Fort William College, a college for IAS officers or ICS officers, in India, in Calcutta. But the court of directors saw this as a part of parallel power making and parallel power center, because then Wellesley wanted to acclimatize the officers in India itself, which is that you come to India, you learn the language. It was basically mandatory for every European ICS officer, East India Company ICS officer, to learn one Indian language, which is that they need to either know Persian or they need to know the Pali, Prakrit, Sanskrit, something that they need to learn. And Fort William College was closed down by the court of directors, and rather they said that we will not train the officers in India. We will train them at a place called Haileybury in England, and that became what is called the Haileybury College, or the ICS College in England itself. So very simply, first the Fort William College came through. However, it was disapproved by the court of directors because they thought that Wellesley was going to usurp power. So they set up what is called the East India College in Haileybury, London, to impart 2 years of training to the recruits. But before we move on to land revenue settlement and economic policy, a very important point needs to be made. How were they appointed? And this is a very important question you need to understand. And as we go on, we will talk about civil services reform. Court of directors are nothing but the East India Company is controlled by the court of directors. Tell me one thing. You understand the concept of ICS, how he curbed corruption, and where were they trained? Wellesley very categorically created an Indian sector, Indian college, removed. It was about acclimatizing everybody in India, but that was not the case. And they said Haileybury College is going to be the place where they will actually get recruited and trained. How are IAS officers recruited today in India? Yuvraj, not right now. I'll tell you that. Very good. Very good. The civil services examination based on merit via the Union Public Service Commission appoints the IAS officers or the other 21 officer rank services in the UPSC. Very good. Perfect. But before But what today is there is called open competition. That the competition is open to everybody. We compete and we become an IAS officer. But before 1833 and after 1833, the system changed. Before 1833, ICS officers were nominated by the court of directors, no exam, no competition. And if that is going to be the case, it is not 1853, 1833. Main first change 1833. 1853 totally different change, Shamil. If the first implementation is 1833, if it is basically nomination, what is going to happen? Very good. Nepotism, which is basically you will only appoint your uncle, brother, father, mother as basically an ICS officer. Nepotism. So nepotism. Whole family itself is ICS officers. So though implemented properly only after 1853, the first order, now are you getting my point, Shamil? The first order for open competition for selection of ICS officers came in the Charter Act of 1833. However, this will not happen till 1853. They will still delay it. Properly implemented only in 1853. At this point of time, till 1833, it is a proper monopoly of the Court of Directors, and open competition is introduced in 1833. Is this clear? Can we close this topic? When we will go and talk about civil services reform as we go on in the story, as of right now, finally, we have now consolidated India. The ICS has been produced to effectively loot India, and the other part of the story is the judiciary is there to again loot India. Everything is about looting India. But now comes what we call as economic policy of the British. A very interesting section, which is land revenue settlement. Second is commercialization, deindustrialization, drain of wealth. So we discussed advent, we discussed the concept of regional kingdoms, we discussed expansion, and now we've done consolidation. Now it's about economic policy. Now, very simply, police, as I said, you will be reading my article for that, and I will get it uploaded to your portal today, and I'm trying to push the link for that. Within this class. If not, tomorrow itself, I will get the first thing, the link ready for you so that you can download the article itself. One of the simple question is what to do with the article. Just read it to understand the policing system. Nothing more, nothing less. It's a very elaborate article, but you have to basically understand the basic structure, how it is changing. ICS officers before 1833 nepotism, after 1833 open competition. Simple point is, one of you asked me that a very simple question: what was the structure of the examination? And the story of the fact is the exact same structure we follow today. In 1833 also there used to be prelims examination, mains examination, and interview. Prelims also had papers, 2 papers, and whilst you have this GS paper 1, GS paper 2, GS paper 3, they used to have Latin language paper, Latin, English literature, Shakespearean literature, science, theology. These are the subjects which they needed to actually write the exam in. But in a way, since its genesis for close to 200 years now, 250 years, the exam is still the same. Question cannot be made. The problem is, Chaluvadi, when we'll be done with the larger story, then maybe I can give you a question. Here it's only introducing this concept to you. Now, in India, they have created their direct conquest, and now they've created three pillars of their rule. The 3 pillars of their rule, or the 4 pillars of their rule, is judiciary, the police, the army, and the ICS. And now we will see how all of them came together to economically exploit India. Can we now pivot to economic history? Very interesting, very important, very, it opens up your eyes totally. It opens up your eyes totally. Okay, can we discuss this? Is everybody ready? Can we do this? Okay. Right. Now, why is that Bengal and the Diwani rights are considered such a major moment in Indian history and British history? They conquered Carnatic, they conquered Marathas, they conquered Mysore. But why is that Bengal is considered so important in this story? And in order to understand that revenue, that 1 rupee which they gained from Bengal, that revenue had a major implication. See, if I ask you how did the British loot, you will say they literally took the money, put it into their pockets, and they went to London. Yes, basically they literally took out the money and they took it to London. This is called the Sone ki Chidiya was looted. The golden bird called India was looted. This is a standard argument you will find in a lot of different books and in basic public imagery, that basically the British came, they took the money, took it in their pocket and went. However, that is technically not true, because we were looted in a very diverse way. We were not looted in money but in commodities. And for that, you need to understand the implication and the importance of the revenue of Bengal. Can I discuss that with you? Which is that I'm now going to tell you how actually India got looted. It's not literal transfer. People think it's like I did a UPI transfer, scan code, send the money. No. Much diverse. Okay. Now, pre-18 you can make running notes, but I'll ask you to concentrate on me. I'll ask you to concentrate on me. I can see the quality. Am I audible? Am I visible? I know, I can see that. I can see that. Video is not lagging, but yeah. So give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Just give me 1 second. Don't go anywhere. Just give me 1 second. Now better? Now better? Now better? And there's no lag. There's no lag. See, I have a preview in front of me there. There's a screen in front of me which shows me what I'm writing, where I am. So I could see that my quality went down, so don't worry about that. Okay. Right. Now can I, coming in good quality, coming out of the screen, can touch you only? Is this okay? Can we discuss? Yes, very good. Great. Screen se bahar nikal. Okay. Pre-1765. Pre-1765. See, India is a very diverse country. The British can't sell us anything. What will the British sell us? Nothing. We have everything in India. The same is true for China. Basically, the British come to India for two things: trade, and they then go to China to get silk, tea. So basically, there is England and there is China and there is India. Please refresh. I am totally fine now. Refresh if there's an issue. Refresh. So they can sell us ammunition, but we don't have the pistol itself. And how many pistol will you sell to the Indians? How many pistol will you sell? You will sell it once. There's nothing to sell. So basically, the British come to India and they come to China. They come to India and they come to China. They come with what is called bullion. Bullion. Bullion means gold and silver. Gold and silver. And see, Indians, they can't sell us anything. What will they sell us to? Wool. We are a tropical country. They will maximum will have to go till Punjab, the whole northern sector, to sell wool. We already have that also. The British can't sell anything to the Chinese or to the Indians because we have our self-sufficient economy. And in return for this, from India, they take what is called pepper, they take cloth, cotton cloth, they take tea, they take a little bit of what is called different types of commodities such as not indigo. They take cotton cloth, they take pepper, they take tea, they take some of the grains. Basically, they take spices. Their most important concept is spices. Masale, spices is what they really matter to. This is called calicos. So basically, they take cotton cloth, they take spices, they take cardamom, they take turmeric, they take pepper, they take tea, they take some of the grains. They have a lot of things. They take sugar, little bit of sugar. They take some of the silk, but their main supply of silk was from China. From China, they take silk and tea. These are commodities. Don't say indigo. Indigo is a very British crop. The basic point is there is nothing for them to sell us, and all of these commodities are very, very important in England because in England there's a lot of demand, a high demand for all of these commodities. Now, if we talk in economics term, tobacco, not that much. Again, Shaimil, we had tea, but not at the scale at which the British did it. We had tea, why not? If we talk in, now listen to me, commodities we will discuss, but the basic point is, if we talk in BOP terms, balance of payment or trade terms, BOP or BOT, In this trade, India would have a positive balance or a negative balance. BOP is positive because they can't sell us anything, and we export more than we import. And China, again, balance of payment is positive, export more than import. And that too, the import is gold and silver. And the English have negative balance of trade because the exports are very, very less to imports. And more than that, this is the period of what we call as the bleeding of gold and silver from England. So now the British are extremely desperate to find a way to get something out of the system. So when we talk about the world, the British are coming to India, they are coming to China, and they are bringing bullion. They are bringing in bullion, and what they are taking, I marked, wait, that is Spain. The British are coming to India and they are coming to China, and they are bringing in bullion, and simply they take back from India, they take back from China, and that is commodities, which is silk and tea. Here it is cotton cloth, pepper, spices, grains, etc. Textile. Cotton cloth is nothing but textile. Very good. The balance of payment is negative here, and the balance of payment is positive here. Can we agree to this much? Yes. Now you try to understand the implication of post 1765, or what we call as Diwani rights granted. I'll first do it without the map and then we'll do it. I'll rather do it on the map only. See. As soon as Diwani rights are granted, what is generated in India? From Bengal, they generate some revenue. Revenue generated in Bengal via Diwani rights. And see, this is why land revenue settlements is important to understand. We will see. But now what they do is that they take this revenue and buy the commodities which they need, which is textile, cotton, pepper, etc. And they transfer it to England. So now there is a transfer which is happening. The commodities are flowing, but England had to import 0. And what they do is they buy a very specific commodity in India. Opium, and I will make it in the flowchart way also. They buy a very important commodity called opium, take it to China. They literally drugged the Chinese, and for opium, they took gold. This gold was then used to buy commodities. And now there is again a transfer to England of silk and tea. And basically, there is no need to export bullion. I'll make it in a flowchart. It will make sense. See, you understand this? You understand this? You understand this? Now, very simple. Very simple. Remove the map. Map is complicating. Remove the map. England is there. India is there. China is there. Post 1765, they have Diwani rights. Diwani rights, which gives them access to revenue. Now, this is the revenue which is generated in India. Revenue collected by East India Company. Now, what they will do is, they will take half of this revenue, buy silk, tea, pepper, or any commodity in demand, and they will send it to England, and they will transfer the commodities to England. And because in China none of these commodities will work, but they need gold there, so one half of the revenue is used to buy opium. Opium is afim. Opium is something which the Chinese were now addicted to at this point of time, which I will discuss with you in the larger context. And via opium, they illegally smuggle into China. Smuggler gives them gold. This gold is taken to China port. Silk and tea is bought. And that is very simply transferred to England. Silk and tea transferred to England. And basically, England imported everything without paying for it in bullion. Basically, the unilateral transfer of bullion which was happening previously, that has now been negated. See, China, they cannot sell anything which India is technically producing. So they find a way. And that is called the Chinese opium wars are they called. We'll discuss that when we go on. In China, they find a way which is that they literally drug the Chinese. This is the morality of the British. They make them addicted to opium at a very cheap cost and then give the opium to the illegal smugglers, take the opium gold and go and act like we got this gold from our home, but that home had actually, gold came from illegal smuggling. Basic point, you don't get caught up in the Chinese part. What has happened in this story? You tell me. What has Indian revenue given to the English which was not there previously? Basically, there is no need to bring bullion from England. Simple point is BOP in England is going to become extremely positive. And here it is still positive, but India's balance of payment will become negative, extremely negative. Understand this very, very clearly. Previously, they were bringing bullion and taking commodities. Now they are bringing zero bullion, zero gold and silver, and they are able to take half of it and take it to England in the form of commodities. Literally, they are buying what they needed via Indian revenue. It's not difficult. Try to understand this. Now, this is called the triangular trade. Triangular trade. Basically, in this story, this is why I was showing you on a map, there is a chain which has now been created. India sends commodities to Europe, India sends commodities to China, and Chinese commodities go to England. In this whole story, how many arrows are going towards England? 2 of them. But is any arrow coming back? No, this is the importance of the Diwani rights. See, China, they cannot sell our products. They can only, opium is, if you're naive, opium is Afeen. It's a drug. It is a drug, narcotics, Afeen. Afeen can be sold to the Chinese illegally to get gold. And that is a system which they found in China. And they will take our opium and take it to and smuggle it to the Chinese to get gold. Simple point of the matter is the unilateral transfer previously of bullion has been negated. Opium is a cash crop. It's a crop. The British made the Chinese addicted to opium. Literally, they pushed it into China. First, people tried it for free, and then they started to sell it via smugglers. It should not be a difficult thing to understand that basically Chinese got drugged by the English. English can destroy a whole subcontinent for their interest, so they can drug the Chinese also. Smuggling means illegal trading. Simple point, very, very, very simple point. I don't care what they are doing to the Chinese. Whatever they did good only. I don't care about the Chinese one bit. Basic point is, please understand the implication of revenue from India. Is this literally taking revenue from India to England, or is it much more nuanced? Is it much more nuanced than what we actually think? It is actually much, much, much more complex than what we actually think. Indian revenue was not unilaterally transferred to England. It was transferred via commodities. And basically, when they will start to extract a lot of revenue, why do you think that they commercialized us? They didn't commercialize our agriculture because they wanted our cash crop producing person to produce cash crop. They made us literally produce crops which they wanted. And therein comes indigo, opium, silk. These were commodities which they wanted. Again, you will not find this in a book. Please understand why Diwani rights and Buxar is considered the fate of India, considered sealed, and the British now technically becoming rich like anything. They were bleeding, literally bleeding gold at one point of time with negative balance of payment. And in this story, unfortunately, the negative balance of payment has fully been pushed to India. England does not want money, wants commodities, because the commodities which they take sells at 4 times, 5 times the cost. What is opium? Opium is a drug. Cocaine, you understand. Heroin, you understand. Heroin, cocaine, alcohol, these are drugs. Not alcohol, but basically, you understand cocaine? You understand cocaine? Would have heard about it? You understand cocaine? Yes. Opium is like cocaine. Right? Cocaine. Opium. Opium is technically ganja, afim. These are what are called commodities, narcotics. Narcotics which can be sold to the Chinese. charas, ganja, whatever you want to say. Your whatever suits you and understands you. Very simply, see, please understand this. Please understand this. Why is 1765 so important? Why is 1765 so important? 1765 is important because pre-1765, India, England, and China are having trade, but the BOP is positive here and BOP was negative here. India can transfer commodities, China can transfer commodities, but there's a unilateral transfer of bullion. 1765 changes everything because 1765 gives them revenue, and that is what we are going to discuss, land revenue settlements. Why is the first thing which they do is technically go for land revenue settlements? They will generate a revenue in India, that revenue they will split. They will buy the commodities they wanted, take it to England, and half of the commodities money or revenue will be used to produce opium in India, Bengal opium, take it to China because that was in demand in China. Forget it's a drug, it is a, the Chinese loved opium. They loved opium. Now can you understand it? Chinese somehow loved opium. They used to eat it like chocolate. That is something they love. If you can't understand the illegality of it, basically they loved opium. And they were happy to give opium and take commodities to England. Now England gets balance of payment positive. Balance of payment is positive still here. But India balance of payment is negative, negative, negative. This is how the looting of India begins. Is this making sense? This is something very important you need to understand. Is that India was the key to the problem for the British. The British create a triangle between India, England, India and China, in which commodities flow out of India here also and here also. But India gets nothing at all. India gets nothing at all. Simple point is that India previously was a positive member of this. India was sending commodities. India's export was more than import. Now tell me in this story, is India actually exporting anything which they get any money for? Okay. So end of story. I'll read it out to you. There's a way of saying it. See, East India Company was mainly concerned with acquiring Indian goods for the sale in Europe. Since there was little to no demand for British goods at India at that time, the company had to bring gold and silver bullion to pay for the purchases. After the conquest of Bengal, it hoped that it would no longer need to have import bullion into India. Instead, collect taxes from the Indian subjects and use it, the surplus, for its local expenditures to buy goods that would be exported to Europe. Now, is this making sense? This is the basic summary of what I've told you. This is called the creation of the triangular trade between India, China, and England. Is this clear? I'll give you an example. Last thing I'll give you is a very layman example of this, and very simply we will end this understanding, because this is the basic pretext. Understand this, because people don't understand that basically India was not literally looted like a unilateral transfer of money. It was actually much more nuanced, because India got sucked into the British economy. And that is why there was a way in which there was all this movement in that sense. So much more nuanced. Nuance means complex. Okay. How does India's BOP become negative? India is not getting anything for its export. India is not importing bullion. India is importing nothing. Basically, Indian revenue has been converted into commodities which the British take to Britain. Then how is an Indian getting anything? I'll give you a very simple example and then I move on to land revenue settlements. Please. Simple example, very simple example. Right. Very simple, simplest of simplest. Right. There are three friends. A, B, and C. A is more or less useless in this whole configuration. A gives money to B, B gives notes to A gives money to C, and B gives notes to A. Basic point is, here A loses money, and what B and C give is notes, and basically they gain for money notes. Now, what happens is that somehow B goes into such a major debt that he owes you a lot of money. So what you do is, A, B, C, the money which B owes you, you get notes from him and send it. So there's no need of technically sending money. And he takes these notes and gives them to C for exchange of new notes. Basically, is there any money flowing out of A now? It is the latest example I can give. No. Now imagine this as England, India, China, same here. Simple point. Last time I'm repeating, simplest of simplest. Before, again, last, listen to me, very important. Before Diwani rights, England has to import everything, it has to buy everything by giving gold and silver. Now, after 1765, they simply buy what they want from our own money. They buy from our own money and send it to England. Simple point. Makes sense. Before 1765, they had put factories of commodity to make positive. Yuvraj, their factories mostly used to have gold and silver. They used to take our commodities only. Those factories were just for export. The British cannot sell us anything. Till today, they cannot sell us anything. That is the basic point. India was looted via commodities. Can we now discuss how they got that revenue? If you understand why Buxar is so important, let us discuss how they got that revenue. Can we now discuss the source of that revenue and land revenue settlements? Can we discuss that? I put in close to 3 to 4 things. I want your assertion that you understand the larger concept here. Because if you understand that, it will create a chain, because everything which happens in India happens for a very specific reason. And the starting point is land revenue, and thereafter it becomes better. Okay, everything is clear? Great. Now, let's talk about what Clive did. See, Diwani rights gives them the right to collect tax. Now, it's about how do you collect tax. It's about how do you collect tax. This money is very, very important, because this is what is going to change the fate of India and fate of England. England literally became the master of India, and India was now bleeding and England was gaining. Now, Clive did not want to do too much. Standard hands-off policy. So, under Clive, the system was very simple. Via the Diwan and Reza Khan, the SME has pushed you 2 links. If you can see them, police and railways right now in the public chat. Can you see that? Yes. Please copy that link and paste it in your URL and confirm to me that the article is opening. please. We'll get it uploaded into the app also, but please confirm to me that you can copy that link and download it. It should just copy that URL, put it into the URL, which is the thing, and it should not on Google. The URL, the whole tab which is on the thing. Can you open the link? Can you open the link?
It's uploaded on the app in British section.
Okay. And it is also in the app in the section where it says resources. Yes, it is opening. Don't worry about the URL. Forget about the URL. It is in the app under resources section. You'll find it, but just copy this link. It is opening, right? Yes, discussion article. Just as you go down, you will get the article, what is called, yes, B.R. Ambedkar's picture. Perfect. Great. Opening, done. If you are not able to open it, just go into your dashboard additional section. You will get these two articles. Yes, 12 pages. Great. Perfect. So I would like you to read it, and I would also like to know how you find it. Good, bad, whatever it is. Right? 9 pages, 12 pages. The initial 3 are useless. Okay. Now, can we come back to Bengal? Can we come back to Bengal? I'll talk to you about that tomorrow. Just go through it basic. Okay. So Clive is Diwan. Clive is Diwan. And Reza Khan is the Nazim. Is the Nazim? General administration. Diwan's right is to, his job is to collect revenue. So what Clive did was, he said, who will take so much tension? His understanding was, we will appoint European supervisors on the existing system. Whatever be the existing system, Zamindar collects it, Amil collects it, Amin collects it, we will just have one European officer sit over the system. Sit over the system. But would Clive actually care about the peasantry? The peasant, the machinery, the Bengal peasantry, Bengal revenue? No. So what Clive does is, he over extracts. He over extracts. Basically, if they could get 1 lakh rupees, he tries to extract 1.5 lakh because they want profit. So Clive's system was very simple. Put a European officer on the system itself. Whatever be the existing system, whatever Bengal was following, we just put a European officer. He creates pressure and extracts more. And the extraction of the revenue by Clive was so disastrous, that in 1769 and 1770, we have for the first time in Bengal a famine. Famine is an acute shortage of food because either there is shortage of grain or purchasing power. Famines, if there was one thing which the British innovated in India and introduced in India at a scale which was never done, is actually famines. In India, people never used to die hungry. This is literally people dying because of hunger. Literally dying. Now, court of directors will ask Clive, what happened? You were given the task to take out money. Famine has happened. So Clive said, not my fault. Meri galti nahi hai. This guy called Reza Khan, he is very corrupt. Let us remove him. He is the problem. So he scapegoats Reza Khan. He says, not because of me, it's because of Reza Khan. So Clive simply appoints European officers over the existing system. And when that leads to people, and I'm not saying 1,000, 2,000, close to 500,000, 5 lakh people died in this famine. 5 lakh people literally dying because they were hungry. And we'll talk about famine and famine policy. 5 lakh people were dead because they were hungry. And now court of directors will ask Clive what happened. So his answer is going to be Reza Khan is corrupt. He over extracted. So the initial arrangement was very simply the native officers were in charge of collection. European officers were given the supervisory authority over them. Their corruption and lack of understanding of local situation led to complete disorganization of agrarian economy in the Diwani provinces. The company directors, unable to pay to their shareholders and expected a very huge amount of dividend, began now to look into the reasons why there was falling revenue and devastating famines. Clive found an easy scapegoat, Balika Bakra, which is Reza Khan, and arrested him under false charges of corruption. And now, basically, this is a problem. Now tell me one thing. What is a famine? When people die of hunger. People die of hunger. For a company which wants revenue and which wants money, is famines and fluctuation good? No. Didn't Reza Khan protest? You tell me, how would he have protested, and which court he would have gone to get any form of justice? Nothing. See, simplest to simplest point is, remove your notions of 20th century, 21st century democracy. They don't care. It's British politics. British don't care. Reza Khan would be literally murdered, no one cares. So remove that. Simple point is, he goes to whatever court he was tried and actually falsely accused also. The basic point of the matter is, Clive over extracts. However, if you will over extract, will the next year also give you the same amount? No. So now what Clive actually did was, first year he extracts, for example, 1.5 lakh. Next year he extracts only 5 lakh or 0.5 lakh. Then the third year he again gets 1 lakh. But the fourth year he gets only 20,000. For the company who is answerable to their shareholders, does this make sense, or is this good? You have to understand this concept, that the British would like a very important word in their revenue: certainty. That I will get this X amount for sure. But has Clive done this? Has Clive done this? Has he made sure that there is certainty of revenue? No. Now basically Clive destroyed Bengal's economy, literally. And now Warren Hastings has been sent, and this is the last discussion we have for today. Now Warren Hastings has been sent with a very important mandate. Get us stability. Get us stability. So he introduces what is called the farming out system or farming system, and you would have you asked me initially in the first classes, which is also called the Ijdari system. Ijdari system. Ijdari system. Now, what is this system? Everybody is with me. You're understanding the purpose of the discussion. We are understanding how they will extract the revenue, which is going to become the game changer for the British in India. Is everybody with me? Please, you become silent. I need your concentration now. Clive has destroyed the economy. Famine has gone. Reza Khan is dead because of that. Now, basically, Warren Hastings needs to. Famine is people literally dying of hunger. Famine, literally dying of hunger. SME push the definition of famine. Okay. Ijdari system. Ijdari, sub, ijara, ijari system, all same. Ijdari, all same thing only. Okay. Now. Who's answering you is called a subject member expert, SME. Now. Famine will occur because if you will over extract, people will not have money to eat. And if you will not have money to eat, how will you buy grains? People didn't have the money to buy the grains only. And grain shortage was there. Okay. Acute food shortage and insufficiency. Technical definition. Now. He needs certainty. So what he does is, first thing is he dismantles the existing system, and he introduces what is called auction system, which is the revenue will be collected by the district collector, literally means collector, district collector. But how will the district collector collect it? So what he will do is that he will say, this district collector will put out an advertisement that we have, for example, we have this 100 acres of land and we want revenue extractors for this 100 acres. The district collector will not go himself. Now they want Indian revenue extractors for the 100 acres. But you don't get it because you are there. You bid for it. Bid for the revenue extraction right. This is called farming. Basically, what they did was that they divided this 100 acres into 10 acres. And now in the office of the district collector says land in near Calcutta between so and so river, 10 acres. How much can you extract out of it? How much can you extract out of it? There is A, there's B, there's C and D. A says I can take out 100,000 rupees. B says I can take out 5,000 rupees. C says I can take out 10,000 rupees. D says I can take out 8,000 rupees. Now district collector will say C has said that 10,000 rupees can be extracted out of the 110 acres. Anybody is going to take it. 1, 2, 3, and this land called 10 acres is seized. Goes and extract 10,000 rupees for us. It's not sold. The revenue right is sold. Basically, it is a bidding system. It's a bidding system. No, it is not. Land is not sold. The right to extract revenue is sold. Now tell me one thing. Tell me one thing. What will C get? Now C will go and extract 10,000 rupees. But if he's only extracting 10,000, what does he gain? He will extract 15,000, pay 10,000 to the collector and keep 5,000. Keep 5,000. It's like tender. It's like a tender. It's literally a tender. But basically, tell me one thing. If you bid, do you bid conservatively or you bid very aggressively? You bid aggressively. This land, this 10 acres can actually only give 6,000 rupees. But now C took it for 10,000. So what will he do? If only 6,000 can be taken out and he's bidded 10,000, what will he do? He will exploit the peasantry and over extract. This system is even worse than what Clive was doing. The farming system, the Ijdari system, is a system of bidding for the revenue right or the right to collect taxes. The basic point was that the British would know out of all the bidders that how much money is going to come, and the bidder would have his own incentive to extract more than what he's bid, and therefore it's a win-win situation. Bid means boli lagana, boli lagana. Simple point is, I'll read it out to you and I'll again explain it to you. See, in 1772, Hastings introduced a system called farming system. The European district collector were to be in charge of revenue collection, and the revenue collecting right was to be farmed out to the highest bidder. The farming system ultimately failed to improve the situation of the concept. The burden of revenue fell on the peasantry and over exploitation happened before Cornwallis will come. But the basic point is, again I'm again telling you, how this system works is, farming system works is, that there is, for example, this land, and in this land, every land has been divided into 10 acres. The company wants certainty. So what they do is that they divide this land into 10 acres, and now they will say that we are auctioning the right to collect revenue out of this. I'll give you a modern example and maybe you will understand. I'll tell you a very simple example. There are 5 flats. Which I own. I, Abhishek, own 5 flats. A, B, C, D, E, and F. Now I am too tired to go and collect the rent from A, B, C, D, E, F. So what I do is that I post an advertisement. The advertisement says that there are 5 flats there, and I want people who can collect rent from these A, B, C, D, E, F. A, B, if there are 6, okay, 5. Now 5, very good. Now basic point is A, B, C, D, E, 5 flats are there, and I say I want to auction the right to collect revenue or rent. I will not say rent, but revenue, rent. So now what happens is X, Y, Z both come. These 3 people come and they say that X says that I can take out 500 rupees out of each one of them. Y says I can take out, by hook and crook, take out 1,000 rupees out of all of them. And Z says that I can take out 800 rupees out of all of them. I will naturally give it to Y. Y will go and collect A, B, C, D, and E, 1,000 rupees, which is 5,000 rupees. I will get that 5,000 rupees, but Y is not doing it for free. He will extract 1,200 out of each one of them and gain something. But basically, these A, B, C, D, and E renters could not even afford 400 rupees, but they took a debt and gave it. So what farming system is this process of transferring the right to collect revenue. Is this making sense? It's the concept of bidding. It's the concept of bidding for land. Now, does it make sense? Basically, does Y own the land? You tell me. Does Y own those 5 flats? No. Same way, the bidder does not own the land. He only owns the right to collect tax. The state, the East India Company, is the ultimate landlord. I have auctioned off my right to. I'm too elite to go and take the revenue out of the peasants. So I auction it to anybody who is ready to collect it at the highest rate possible. And the basic point is all of this will lead to over-exploitation. The person who owns the land, Sarthak, is ultimately the East India Company, because they are the real zamindar of this area. Does this make sense? Come on. Then we practice one question we have to do. Does this make sense? Please. It does. So tomorrow when we come back, this system will overexploit, but it will not create certainty. And we'll discuss permanent, rayatwari, mahalwari, commercialization and deindustrialization tomorrow. Right? So I'm trying to make it as graphic as possible, but in the examination you write just this one line. That is it, which is district collector collects revenue to the highest bidder who is collecting right. Right? Before you leave, let's check if you remember the trick. Firstly, please tell me, is this making sense? This is all technical. I told you. Now it's not ratification. It is understanding based. So now we are on this separate spectrum. If you understand the system, you understand everything. Okay, great. 100% perfect. Thank you so much for that. Now, let's do a small exercise. And let's see if you remember what we did in the beginning of the class. I taught you a trick today with regards to how to remember wars. Let's do that, and then you can leave the session itself. So we have Battle of Buxar, Third Carnatic War, First Maratha War, First Mysore War, and Second Mysore War. Come on. You already have figured it out. Very good. 2 Carnatic, 1 thereafter, 4, 3, 5. Done. The magic of tricks. Don't have to even learn one date. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll see you tomorrow. Again, tomorrow is going to be very interesting discussion with regards to how land revenue works, how permanent, rayatwari and mahalwari works. I hope all of this is making sense. See, I'm trying to go a little bit further than just giving you information. I'm trying to make you understand the system, because then you will never forget it. Simple point is, if you get the time, do read the article. Police one if you want to. If you can, why not? And do give me a feedback on how did you like it. It's been a while. I was published it when I was in St. Stephen's and my MPhil research. So it's an old article, but it's still relevant for you in that sense. Okay. The trick is very simply Carnatic, Bengal, Mysore, Maratha, and Sikh. First Mysore and first Maratha are the anomaly. Thereafter, everything is in sequence. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. I will see you tomorrow again at the same